How's it? Welcome back. It's me, Ryan Thwaites, with another episode on guitar. I would like to talk with you very briefly today about the different types of guitars. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but we're just going to progress through because there's plenty of stuff on the internet about this. But as we learned from the very first episode, this is a classical guitar, all right? The big boxy bit is called the body. If you wanted to get into a little bit more detail, the top bit is called the soundboard. I guess you could think of it as where the vibrations from the strings goes through the bridge into the saddle, wrong way around, beg your pardon, through the saddle into the bridge, which goes into the soundboard, which makes the body vibrate, and the air inside the guitar vibrates, and some of the sound, all the vibrations come out the sound hole. The rest of it vibrates around the body. I'm sure you can feel the vibrations of the body of the guitar on your leg when you're playing it. Vibrating ears go through the air. The vibrating air goes into our eardrums, make our eardrums vibrate, and we hear it sound. And now we're getting into biology. But essentially that's it. Sound is vibration. And when the strings vibrate, you can see them. The body's vibrating, the air's vibrating, and we're perceiving it as a sound. Okay, so sound hole. I think the little pattern around here is called the rosette. Standing on my tiptoes. The little pattern's called the rosette. On this edge, we can see we've got two different colors of wood. This bit's actually called the neck, and the dark wood is called the fretboard because the frets are glued into the fretboard. Okay, and at the bottom of the neck we have the heel, because I guess it looks like a lady's high heel. All right, this guitar has got a cutaway. Some guitars, it goes round like that. This has got a cutaway to it, which is just so that we can play higher up. There's not much else there. This is a little kind of device that allows you to put your strap on there. Strap button, maybe, I don't know, whatever. Obviously we've got the neck, we've got the nut, we've got the head, and we've got the tuning keys. Okay, there's not really much else to it. This one can also be plugged in, so this is a control so that we can plug a jack lead in there and plug it into a speaker or an amplifier. So although it's an acoustic instrument, acoustic meaning an instrument that makes noise without electricity, we can also plug it in. So it's a classical guitar, but it's an electro-acoustic. So it's kind of best of both worlds. It's good for concerts. And there we go. I guess in a sense, it's the original old school guitar. Although guitars are much older than, sorry doggy, than we realize. Ooh, there you are. I don't want to get into a history lesson. So I guess the kind of next one you would normally see is this. Now this is also an acoustic guitar because it makes noise without electricity. It's also an electroacoustic because it's got a preamp where you can plug it in to an amplifier or a speaker. But these are normally known as steel strings because the strings are made of steel. Okay, unlike the classical guitar where 3 of them are nylon and 3 of them have actually got a silk core, and then they're wound with a soft metal, which I'm unsure of. Whereas the steel strings, 2 of them are steel. The other 3 have got a steel core, and then wound around that is another type of metal. I don't know, bronze or... you get to different string types. But essentially they make a different sound because when you tap on something like, say, I don't know, a glass, that doesn't work. You know what a glass sounds like when you tap on it. It makes a very different sound to when you, I don't know, tap on a pot. Yeah, the material produces the sound or the tone. So as a result, it's got a very different tone or sound. It's still got a rosette. This thing here is called the scratch plate. It stops you from scratching the lovely soundboard of your guitar with your plectrum. Some guitars have them, some don't. Wouldn't worry about it too much. It's also got a cutaway and a heel, and obviously a neck and a fretboard and the frets, a nut and a head and the tuning keys. So it's like I said, they're very similar. Okay. Then we move on to the electric guitar, which is, as you know, one of these. Now, the invention of the electric guitar changed music, in short. No one had ever heard a sound like that before. It changed so much about music and live performance, and effectively invented the bass guitar as a result, but the electric bass, shall we say, not the upright bass, or the contrabass, or the massive violin. But anyway, that's maybe for another lesson as well. But it's got a similar thing to it, right? You've still got the body and the neck, and then obviously, well, the neck and the fretboard, the brown bit, and the frets are glued into that. It's still got a nut, the head's a different shape, still got the tuning keys. The strings are very similar to the guitar I showed you before, in that they're steel, and it doesn't sound like much at all when it's not plugged in, because it doesn't have a hollow body. It's a solid chunk of wood, and you can kind of make these out of anything really, but this is a solid chunk of wood, and so as a result it doesn't vibrate, it doesn't resonate nearly half as much. And so we have to use these little guys. That is one dirty scratch plate. The scratch plate's massive on this, the white bit, and these little guys are called the pickups. You can think of them as microphones, like I mentioned it before. If you're interested, they're magnets with a copper coil wound around them, which will induce an electrical current by the steel string vibrating in the magnetic field. More on that later when we come and look at tone and amp settings and everything like that. But essentially, you've got all these kind of controls here that control, amongst other things, the volume of the instrument and the tone, or how it sounds, because these are quite versatile. You can do a lot with them. You can get a lot more sounds out of these than the two kind of more traditional acoustic instruments. So yeah, electric guitar. You've sort of got a residual heel, I guess, but this plate here, you can see, rather than the previous instruments, the neck being glued into the body, you can actually swap the neck out by taking out those 4 bolts and putting a new neck on your electric guitar if you want. You can see it's separate. Yeah. Like I said before, the bridge saddle arrangement is a bit different. I guess this steel piece here is the bridge, and then you've got a saddle for each string. Now, they can be adjusted by these screws, and they can move in and out. Effectively, you can tune the instrument on this side as well as this side. Once this is set and tuned, we tend not to touch it. That's for another lesson as well, about setting your intonation. But you can see the strap holder. We've got one there and one there. That's where you put your strap on. The acoustic instruments, you tend to sort of tie them under there. Well, sometimes they have it there. But anyway, they're all guitars, right? I don't know if there's anything else to say about that. Oh, yeah, some of you may not have seen that. I keep this off because that's... I like to adjust it for different things, but essentially these 5 springs are attached to, I don't know if you can see that, yeah, and that actually moves the bridge itself, where you can use a whammy bar, and depending on how you have these tightened or adjusted means how easy it is to push the whammy bar, in short. But there you go. The output for the jack is normally here on an electric, although sometimes they're there. This one's been highly decorated. I've probably had that since I was about 14 or whatever. It's not a frog stomp, although that is an oblique reference. It's a Yamaha Pacifica, if you're interested. Both those two are Waldens. Again, I'm not sponsored, but yeah, I just wanted to give you a little run through. And then kind of sort of the genesis of this video really actually was to talk about fret markers. These dots that you can see on the front and on the side of the neck. That would be the view you have when you're looking down at your instrument, you know, playing it. That'd be the view you had. They simply mark the frets. 3, 5, 7, 9. Yeah, they're odd numbers. Learn them. It's not hard, odd numbers. If you want to find the 3rd fret, woo, it's there already. If you want to find the 2nd fret, well, it's right next door, okay? You've got the 12th fret, double dots. That is an important fret. It depicts the octave. If you've been watching the videos on scales, you'll know that that means that this open E string, you can see it vibrating. When I play the 12th fret, if the intonation is correct, the octave is played. So you've got a low E and a high E. More on that later, but we can see now we've got 15, 17, 19, 21, and so on. Some electric guitars have another double dots because you get 2 octaves, so that means that they've got a bigger range, a bigger amount of notes that they can play. Yes, I think that is about it. Can't think of something else to say. They all make different sounds, they all look different, they all feel different to play, but essentially they're played in the same way, more or less. You might specialize into actual classical guitar, or you might specialize into like electric guitar, but they're like driving different cars. If you can play one, you can approach them all in mostly the same way, although their repertoire, meaning the type of songs or the I don't know, I guess the back catalogue of music or the material that they play tends to be different. You wouldn't see somebody reciting a piece of Bach on an electric guitar. I've tried that at an acoustic club, and they didn't want me back because I had the wrong instrument. Anyway, long story short, guitars. Yeah.